Yes.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Well, the next one I think is also likely to be moved by you. So right, the local board input. I think we had Izzy first. Yeah. Kia ora, Izzy. I think Chair Fordham online. Yes, I can see you. Kia ora.
Yep.
Nice to see you.
Kia ora.
And you know the drill. So 5 minutes, and there'll no doubt be questions. Nice to see you.
Sweet as. Morena Chair and members, thank you for the opportunity once again to speak with you today. I'm here on behalf of the Aotearoa Great Barrier Local Board and the island community to support the notices of motion as presented to you by our Ward Councillor Mike Lee and seconded by Councillor Leone. In particular, I'm speaking for Aotearoa Great Barrier and the Hauraki Gulf Islands. Over the years, I have addressed not only this committee, but previous planning committees regarding the permitting of private recreational helipads in settlement and residential areas. I find myself here yet again asking the question, why is it that this is allowed to continue? Why is it that our decision makers aren't prepared to make alterations to the existing planning rules to protect the tranquility of people's lives and to safeguard the vulnerability of animals and, in our case, numerous endangered species? With the recent decision in Westmere under the Auckland Unitary Plan, we are now more concerned than ever. We had hoped that as the Hauraki Gulf Islands shift into the Auckland Unitary Plan, we would be on safer grounds. To make private recreational helipads a prohibited activity, we are now not so sure that is going to be the case. The Auckland Unitary Plan has been found wanting, it has been tested, and it has failed. Heaven forbids that you end up in a situation similar to ours, where we have private recreational helipads in adjacent properties, 5 along Greenside Road, 4 along Grey Road, remembering please that one of those properties has 2 pads. Not one application has ever been declined, and there is nothing as a community that we can do because it is a restricted discretionary activity that doesn't go out for consultation. We are at the mercy of planners who consider the individual effect and not the accumulative effect of multiple private recreational helipads in close proximity. If there is no strong direction in the governing plans, then there is nothing anyone can do. That is why the rules need to be tightened up and tightened up now. We have procrastinated for far too long. To remind you that a helicopter is a type of aircraft which derives both lift and propulsion from one or more sets of horizontally revolving overhead rotors. It is capable of moving vertically and horizontally, the direction of motion being controlled by the pitch of the rotor blades. The point being, it is a type of aircraft, not a type of car, not a type of bus, not a type of truck, not a type of motorcycle, and definitely not a type of bicycle. It is classified as a type of aircraft, and we are allowing aircraft to be used as a mode of transport in settlement and residential areas. Like it or not, this does impact on the quality of life of others. That is why I'm here today to support our ward councillor in his call requesting council staff to progress a plan modification to the Auckland District Plan Hauraki Gulf Islands section, making private helipads in residential areas on Aotearoa Great Barrier Island a prohibited activity. Also adding our support to Councillor Lee's other notice of motion, requesting council staff to initiate a plan change to the Auckland Unitary Plan to make private helipads in residential areas a prohibited activity. We urge you to be bold and brave and make the call. Support Councillor Lee's notices of motion before it is too late. Thank you for your time, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And I hope you heard the round of applause through my mic from the people in the room. We've got first question from Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you.
Hello, Izzy.
I just want to ask you a question to make it quite clear. You are in no way trying to limit the public use of helicopters for police, for medical use. You are making your comments exclusively to private use. Can you confirm that, please?
Yes, that's correct, Councillor Fletcher.
Thank
We depend, I'm sure you're well aware, we depend a lot on the Westpac or the Northern Rescue Helicopter Service. This is specifically around private recreational use.
So for private recreational helipad use, you are wanting us to exercise leadership to fix it for Auckland.
Correct.
Thank you.
We can do this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lee.
Good morning, Izzy. Thank you for the presentation. Can I note that I believe the Aotea Great Barrier Board, when this issue first became of public concern, maybe 5 or 6 years ago in the Gulf Islands, the local board asked for a moratorium on these consents, which were coming off like a production line in rather small villages, the settlement areas. You asked for the council for a moratorium, and the council said, under the law, we cannot. So then you asked for prohibited activity, which under the law you can if you want, if the council wants. And part of your original resolution from the board also noted the concerns and the full support of the tangata whenua, Ngāti Rehua, Ngāti Wai ki Aotea. Does that support still stand, please?
To my knowledge, it hasn't changed, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Turner.
No, I found the answer in the words, thank you.
Thank you. There looks like there are no more questions, so I will... Oh, Councillor Williamson.
Mine's a question to the submitter, but I think it may need either Megan or yourself to answer it. Everything we will do from this notice of motion today, if it's carried, will not overturn any permits that people have achieved in the past and have already got them in place. They will stay. Yep. I just want to get it on record. So all the people that are calling me up that said, well, I've already got mine and had to fight like hell and it took so long, this does not impact on those that already have it. That's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's my understanding as well.
I just wanted to get it clear so that I can actually say it and then not find I got it wrong.
Yeah.
So that anyone that got it, currently got it, however long ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and the whole those permits, they will not be affected by this.
Yes, and I think the one that has sparked some of this too applied in 2021. Nothing would have changed on any decisions in the last 3 years either on that, because it is not retrospective on the day of application. So we do need to think about our
So now the next question I was going to ask is, what about those that are in train at present?
It's from the day of application, so it's not retrospective.
So from the day they applied, they'll be under the old rules, and there'll only be anyone that makes an application from this passing on.
Well, from if there are if there are any plan changes that get over the line through the minister and then independent commissioners at the point of approving, it will only apply to those applying going ahead. So we will have Phil Reid or others to give some of that advice.
I just think we're really good to get a little roadmap of which, I think we've established the ones already in existence, and I think we've established that anyone after a certain point won't, but there'll be those in transit that are trying to work through the process and where they are and what would be the ability for those to be stopped as well. I just would like to know that well.
Yes, as we move, so after we have questions.
In item 11.
Yeah, item 11, or after we have questions to Councillor
Okay,
Lee,
okay.
we'll also have questions to staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, I think Councillor Lee, would you like to move a vote of thanks to Chair Ford?
I'm happy to move, Mr Chair.
And
This
Councillor
is
Fletcher
a
would also
career
like-
best for me if this gets carried.
Right, all those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. And we see Chair Handley's here. Kia ora.
Thank you, Chair.
Nice to see you in person and nice to see you well. And you know the drill as well. We've got 5 minutes and then we can ask questions of you as well.
Tēnā koe, Chair, and tēnā koutou katoa, ko Kath Handley Takawingoa, Chair of the Waiheke Local Board. I'm here, and yes, I have just returned to part-time work because my brain's not functioning properly from concussion, but I wouldn't miss this. It just means I can't manage too many threads at once, but I know you're managing your chairing appropriately for that. I'm here to endorse Councillor Lee's notice of motion. As you know, and from the great presentation from Quiet Sky Waiheke, you know, I've been here many times over the years to advocate on behalf of our board, on behalf of our residents, and their expectations of tranquility living out in the Gulf. I would say I know that the wording is here for Aotea, Great Barrier and for Waiheke Island, but those are the board areas, I'm assuming. But for me, the island, for instance, Rakino Island is in Arohi and has a current and new application for a helipad. So, nothing has, if you like, there was a period when the tide was stemmed somewhat, when MPS 15 was introduced to the Hauraki Gulf Islands District Plan. That's the noise regulation, noise and vibration standard, which came about through our advocacy. And then we advocated for the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement to be a consideration. But moving this forward to where it needs to be, residential covers, I think probably one of our 60-odd helipads that would not have been, should never have been consented, but was, and all the rest should have been notified, which is what we have always asked, is that every helipad be notified, and that's our bottom line, which would be, can be put into a regulation if the Hauraki Gulf Islands standard is to become that of the unitary plan for, Auckland unitary plan for non-residential helipad permits. So it's impossible for me to pretend to be an advocate for wildlife and the Hauraki Gulf and to be permissive with helipad, coastal helipad applications. So far, we are still in that permissive environment. It's taken forever to get a consultation out for the NZCPS, but 1 or 2 applications are now including it. But because they're not notified, no external, I was going to say avian, not aviation, right, expert opinion on bird wildlife is able to be incorporated or represented other than what the planner seeks behind closed doors, right? This is not a transparent process. And I'm going to take you to one I've just received. In the last few days, this is another consented helipad in a coastal place. And just give me half a sec. It's good because in terms this is the planner's signed consent for this helipad, which is right on the coastal edge at Woodside Bay. It says, in terms of positive effects, the proposal provides for an alternative mode of transport for the applicant and the visitors to the property. Wow, well that's good because, you know, if that's our job, and that is somewhere which is not far from a consented heliport, which is our airfield. But the other one, if we look at the wildlife, and I am an advocate on behalf of Waiheke for the wildlife of the Hauraki Gulf. This consent acknowledges, if I can find the page, I've highlighted it. Here we go. There are several SEAs, so sensitive environmental areas, within the surrounding area, which won't be directly impacted by increased noise levels. One at-risk species, the pied shag, was observed to be feeding and roosting in the area below the flight path. As an at-risk species, any adverse effects must be avoided. The noise effects from helicopter movements to and from the subject site are not considered to result in adverse effects to the species because of the infrequency of flights, the short duration of increased noise levels, and the abundance of alternative roosting trees available to pied shags within Woodside Bay. So if you're a pied shag and you happen to have your nest in a tree, please just take it to an alternative tree in Woodside Bay. So the needs of these people to have private access has superseded the interests of an at-risk Indigenous species, the pied shag. Thank you. So the bottom line for us is everything should be notified, because this should never, ever, ever have happened. So expert opinion should have informed, expert opinion on the pied shag should have informed this decision. So we know from the Quiet Sky Waihiki's reference to the bird research and helicopters, helicopter flights and noise and vibration, that an aborted bird off a nest may never return. It's one instance. Doesn't matter whether you're taking your helicopter in 43 times or 56. The answer is it's in the moment when one bird of an endangered or at-risk species gets displaced because the private interests of these people take precedence. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have two questions so far. Councillor Sayers. Online.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Just a question around trying to understand between a future business that may believe its commercial operations require helicopter operations to come in and out. Kath, does that, how do you see that in the future? Because I'm just a little bit confused between, what's a private application versus perhaps a potential business one. And would there be justification? You've explained there's a lot of commercial helipads anyway. So is that something, I'd just like to understand the unintended consequences of prohibition for impacting businesses going forward. And the other thing, Kath, is just your local board's position on, obviously you're advocating for the island, but in terms of its implications across, inner city Auckland as well. Just any comment you were able to make there would be helpful.
Thank you, Councillor Sayers. I guess with respect to the second one, it's for the rest of the city. Welcome to our world. If the AUP doesn't shore itself up through the work of this committee, then you will get a proliferation of helipads now, although they might wait for the Environment Court hearing after the Herne Bay one. So that to me would be, we just saw and see waves which respond to interest taken by this committee. We get waves of applications in wake of decisions, or we see them slow down. So with respect to commercial businesses, they do need to consent that as part of their resource consent anyway, but they would have to go through a similar process. However, I can't think of a business application that has been put in since this first arose, which was a response to a helipad being proposed for the Obsidian Vineyard, which is in a kind of residential valley of Waiheke, and that really is where Quiet Skies petition what was an outcome of that commercial application. Interestingly, the vineyard sold, and the owners, who are very socially responsible and environmentally, didn't pursue, they withdrew the application for a helipad. So there are people who have, who run businesses extremely successfully without helipads. There are others where helipads come in for one course at one vineyard and fly the people to the next vineyard, and then they have them dinner, and then they fly them to the next one for dessert. So that is the nature of living on Waiheke. That is the behaviour that we're living with. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Deputy Chair, Councillor Dalton.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Kath. Thank you for your presentation. I just wondered if you had any advice on the current plan change that is in for Hauraki Gulf Islands. If the second NOM specific to HDI went through, that plan change would have to be withdrawn, the existing one, that is quite a way down the track. The risk for Hauraki Gulf Islands, given that Minister Bishop is not accepting plan changes, we think the plan changes acceptable will be around housing growth and natural hazards, which may not include the helicopter activity. So what are your thoughts, if you've had any advice on it, around the existing plan change being withdrawn?
Firstly, I had no idea. And I think what you're saying is that if this decision was taken by this committee, then the NZC, all the work that's gone into the NZCPS, I'm not sure why. Is it because it would become superfluous over time? Is there not an argument that the NZCPS being in the Hauraki Gulf Islands District Plan is a good thing anyway, and should be included in considerations so that it would be incorporated as a consideration going forward. So I do see it why if this didn't hold a provision like that, and I don't know if that's possible because you just sprung it on me and you're the experts, well, or you've got experts, that one is a real dilemma if all that work looking after, to get NZCPS as a consideration for our fragile ecosystems might have to be put to one side, and then the government, let's say no to this plan change. I guess you need to be the ones who marshal that. I personally would go for both, but I don't know if that's possible. So I'm sorry.
I think what we'll do is we'll tease it out with Phil Reid during item 11, just to get some really good advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Leone.
Yeah, kia ora, Kath, and thank you again for coming in today. And I know, obviously, you've been in to see us a number of times. Look, I just wanted to follow on from Councillor Dalton's question there around the plan change and knowing that there may be pushback from Minister Bishop. Do you think that as a council, though, that I think you've just mentioned it, that we should still try and push ahead with it regardless? Or, I mean, is it about trying to get additional information first?
I haven't really wrapped my head around that. I find it quite extraordinary that a government would put in yet another layer of a kind of bureaucratic decision-making over a council's legitimate role to make regulation through its plans in its own right. So, that's just a weird kind of... I suggest that you would put the case strongly if this, and that you would have the mana to ensure that whatever your decisions were would not be blocked at a national government level. But, we're in weird times, aren't we?
Thank you. And just a second question, so follow on. Do you know whether there's been any additional support or changes with support from mana whenua on this?
No, and this isn't something that we've been, there are a huge number of things that mana whenua are dealing with, not least kind of just getting the legislation through, and there are some very big ticket items in there. So by and large, though, mana whenua have consistently sided with the natural ecology and our community's needs, over any other considerations, but I certainly I don't speak for them.
Kapai, thank you.
Kia ora, thank you. Member Ashby.
Kia ora, good to see you again. Similar question, and I don't want to put you on the spot because it's a good answer that you don't speak for them, but just in terms of mana whenua locally, we, in the past, historically, because I heard with Aotea that Ngāti Rehua had previously supported in the past local board positions there for moratoriums and prohibition. Has that historically been the case for Waiheke as well?
Once again, we're in a different position, fundamental because of the changes within kind of Ngāti Paoa governance over time. That there was a time when it was difficult that we were dealing with two parties, with Ngāti Paoa, not one. And we never, I am not sure, to be honest, Member Ashby, whether or not the issue of the helicopters was traversed with those parties back then. And I've been there, this is my 9th year, so I personally don't think, and right now we have got these big ticket items, but getting a hui where we even deal with those is difficult because of the huge brief that they are holding, and they're everywhere all at once, but needing to get their legislation through. So apologies, there isn't a position.
Kia ora. I think that, we've got one more question, maybe? Oh, Councillor Lee, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Board Chair Handley. We heard from Mr. Matheson of the Herne Bay Residents Association that prior to the Auckland Unitary Plan, the activity class for private helipads in residential areas in the Auckland City, the old Auckland City, the Western Bays, was restricted discretionary. Now, in a rather astonishing decision, a couple of weeks ago, the council's independent commissioners decided or treated the application in 38 Rawini Street as restricted discretionary, actually permissible, but then because it breached the noise standards, they treated it as restricted discretionary, and on that basis they signed it off. And there was shock, if you like, and some anger, outrage. It was all over the news. And yet on Waiheke Island and on Aotea Great Barrier, in residential areas and settlement areas, it's restricted discretionary for the island people. Do you think that's equitable?
It's not equitable, no. But it is the outcome, if you consider things as restricted discretionary, that it's really, there's very little that anybody can do to have a say in a democratic world to, protect your community, your life, your lifestyle, and the ecology. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That's all the questions we have. I'm sure Councillor Lee would, for the 7th, 8th, I don't know how many times, Councillor Lee would like to move this one, and Councillor Fletcher already put her hand up, Councillor, as a move of thanks. Thank you very much, Chair. All those
Kia ora,
in favour?
thank you very much.
All those in favour? Any opposed? Of course not. Thank you. Right, well, we'll move to, did we want to have a 5-minute stretch? Yes, we'll have a 5-minute stretch. Oh, there's no extraordinary business, and then before we move to the notice of motion, have a 5 minutes.
Well, can we address the query I had
sorry.
before about how we
Sorry,
inform
Councillor,
ourselves with item 11?
Sorry, committee members. Oh, we'll just discuss that.
Okay.
So 5-minute break.